Bruce, where are you? Ah, come up. Bruce was a successful investor 20 years ago and decided that he was going to go volunteer in a food bank. And the power of one person wanting to change things is a story that we have right here, and I'm going to ask him to tell us.
Thank you for inviting me today, for the opportunity to talk for a few minutes. Jamie asked me to briefly tell you sort of my story about how I got so involved in the hunger relief community here in Los Angeles. It started about 20 years ago. I was just volunteering at a food bank. One afternoon a week, I'd go in for a couple hours and help bag up groceries for low-income families who had their monthly appointment for food assistance. They'd come to the food pantry because they were qualified by their low income to receive a bag or two of groceries to help them. And I was very early on struck by the fact that we often ran out of food before the day was over. And we'd have to say to people, sorry, we're out of food, come back tomorrow. As if collecting the 3 kids and bringing them on a bus across town for 12 or 15 cans of food should warrant them taking 2 days out of their busy schedule. So I just decided that didn't seem right. I'm standing here in one of the wealthiest places on the whole planet, and we can't give 12 or 15 cans of food to people. So I was going to go find food. And I'm out of the financial services industry, investment banking and money management, so I knew nothing about food businesses or food industry, but I went to where I shopped. So I went to the Trader Joe's down the street on the corner of Westwood and National Boulevard, and I asked for the manager, and I said, hi manager, I'm helping out at the food pantry down the street, and we run out of food, and can you donate any food? And he said, can you pick it up? So that seemed easy enough. I had a little BMW convertible of the day, being a financial services guy. And I'd pull into that Trader Joe's every other day and put the top down, and they'd fill that car with hefty bags full of dated food as high as it would go. And then I'd drive around town and try and give it away to agencies that needed the food. I'd go to the food pantries, I'd go to the homeless shelters, I'd go to the meal programs at the senior center, and do you want this food? And people were so happy, and they were so appreciative. I said, well, I'm going to find more food. And so I went to the Mrs. Gooch's Market on Sentinel and Palms. And I asked the manager, and I said, Mr. Manager, I'm helping out at a food pantry down the street, and we run out of food. Can you donate it? Can you donate it? And he said, unbelievably, he said, can you pick it up? And so that changed my life. It really did change my life. And so you look back on your life and you wonder sometimes how such innocuous, such unexpected things can lead to such dramatic changes. But sure enough, I started picking up food every day, and I started giving it away, and then I started getting more and more businesses that were calling me, hearing about the opportunity to donate food that they were otherwise throwing away. This is food that is still good. It's mostly dated product, so that's a freshness date, not a spoilage date, right? You can buy it up to the date and still use it for several weeks. And so I had to recruit volunteers. And I was saying at my table about, who you are and why you're here, that I really never thought of myself as a community organizer. But now that I'm here with all of you, I do think of myself as a community organizer. So, to sort of make it a long story short, I started in 1990. By 1995, I had about 50 volunteers who were helping me pick up food in their own cars. We were picking up and distributing over 1 million pounds of free food a year. Again, all food that would have gone in the trash. And it had taken over my life, so Mary Jane told her story, how an hour led to a couple nights, led to a weekend, led to all the time. And by 1995, my life had been taken over by this program, and so in an effort to decide what to do to make it sustainable, in working with both the LA Regional Food Bank and the Westside Food Bank in Santa Monica, it was decided that it was the best fit for the Westside Food Bank. I gave it to them. It's still part of the Westside Food Bank. One person investing fractional time, it's not even a full-time staff person, last year running that program, Extra Helpings Westside, collected and distributed about 2 million pounds of free food. And that represents about half the food distributed by the Westside Food Bank each year. So that was my own personal story. I went on the board of the food bank when I gave them the program, and I just ended my 4-year term as president last month, but I'm still on the board. And so the reason why I got involved with this was, I think, very simple. Who here has ever been hungry? Raise your hand if you've ever been hungry. It was the universality of that message and that issue which struck me, which was, how is it possible that we have neighbors who don't have enough food to put on the table for their children and to their families to be able to eat a meal when they're hungry? And so that's what drove me to do it, and I picked, in retrospect, there was no better place than Los Angeles to pick, to reach out, to help people who are poor. You know, LA is a wonderful, wonderful city, and we live in it at a wonderful time in history. But LA has the unfortunate distinction of being the homeless capital of America and the poverty capital of America. We have 75,000 neighbors sleeping on the streets or homeless every night in Los Angeles County. And we have over 1 million people living in poverty. Over 1 million people who don't have enough food, enough money to meet all of their needs. And it is a remarkable thing that there are that many. But you can see from my story that you can really reach out and touch all of those people's lives who need your help. The Westside Food Bank, which again I'm the past board president of and still on the board of, distributes food to over 80,000 people a year in western Los Angeles County. Half of them are children. They're children living in low-income households. Low-income households. Families of 4 trying to survive on less than $20,000 a year. If somebody works full-time and makes $10 an hour, 40 hours a week, that's what they make, $20,000 a year. And they're in poverty as a full-time worker. So the food banks offer a remarkable opportunity to really reach out, and everyone here can really reach out and touch hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives over the course of time. And I really encourage you to think about that and sharing your blessings with people less fortunate than ourselves. And I would just say that the LA Regional Food Bank is lafoodbank.org, and it's right here on Alameda and 42nd Street. The Westside Food Bank is Westside Food Bank CA. Don't forget the CA, because there was a Westside Food Bank in Arizona before us. WestsideFoodBankCA.org. We're in Santa Monica. And again, we're a partner food bank. We're both Second Harvest Food Banks, which is the National Association of Food Banks, that establishes best practices and best procedures for food banks. These are both organizations that distribute throughout the county, between them to almost 800,000 people a year receiving the food from these 2 organizations. So I want to thank everyone who brought food today. I want to encourage you to do it on as regular of a basis as you can. If you can do weekly donations or monthly donations at your school, at your kid's school, or at your church, or at your temple, or with your neighbors, do a food drive and collect some food that you can take to the food bank that can be distributed to people that need all of your help. So again, I want to really thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to thank you, and I want to thank this movement for looking towards civic engagement and social service as another aspect of what they can accomplish. And I am very confident, now that I understand that I am a community organizer, that this group really does have the power to change this city for the better. So thank you very much.